All right, you ready to get started?
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys for doing this.
Where are we supposed to look?
You can look at me, you can look at the camera, wherever you want.
I'll look at you.
Okay, first question, really simple. How's it going?
Is that a loaded question?
Nope.
Yeah.
Answer it however you want.
It's going well. I believe that, our group is gelling well together. Everyone kind of understands their roles. We've got world-class actors, cinematographers, directors, things like that. Some people you'll probably see in Hollywood someday, so I think we're good.
Yeah. Star-studded group.
Absolutely.
That all-star team.
Yeah.
We kind of shot ourselves in the foot by getting Dr. Hammer to look at 2 scripts, and we were just the entire time. Because we were we need your opinion, and he gave us his opinion. We're our script isn't good. So it's just it was a really great challenge to start square one multiple times, because it kind of made us more and more efficient as the thing went on. So we're all juggling roles that we've never really been in before, which is fun.
Yeah,
that is fun. So no one will see this until after they've seen you guys' movie. So you can tell me, but what's your idea?
Our idea for okay. So our idea is a pretty simple setup. It's just a couple who's getting ready for dinner, and they have a special guest over, and they invite this guy over, and they're having a really nice dinner, and then throughout the entire thing, you see this couple rehearsing lines in the mirror and getting really primed and ready for this dinner, and they're really invested in how they look and how they speak and what they say, and then the dinner progresses, and then you realize that they're killing their guest, and they're
it's a thriller.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they end up killing him, and he's at the bottom of the table, and then they call the police on themselves, and they're ready. They have their lines rehearsed for what they're gonna say. So it's someone who's inspired by crime, who wants to be famous, go through any means to become famous.
Yeah.
Using social media, using violence, using people of color.
Yeah.
That's a pretty strong thing in there too.
It's kind of like a commentary on the exploitation of volunteerism and like you said, people of color, and really just using the motivation of fame to get there, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty cool journey getting there, because
that's not what we started with.
Yeah, because he said that we can't do porn, and I was just that's all our idea is. Thanks, Hammer. And then I was let's do a musical, and they're no, John, and I was fine.
Because I can't sing.
So I guess we stuck on. We wanted to do with horror, but horror is really tricky, just because I don't know. There's a lot of cliches when it comes to horror, and then we kind of stuck into psychological thriller, because a lot of us are sociopaths. So that was fun.
Well,
sociopathic tendencies.
Yeah.
That sounds like an awesome idea, but what exactly inspired that idea? Sort of who came up with it, and where did it come from?
Well, I believe it kind of spun off of our original idea, because we were going to do a commentary on sexual assault and almost kind of what a woman has to do to survive in this world. And so that's kind of where our storyline came from. And then after we had Dr. Hammer read over the script and kind of realized that there were pieces missing that we would have to incorporate or scrap the whole thing. And so we ultimately decided to scrap the whole thing, but we kind of kept some of the same elements, just with this different commentary of the exploitation and volunteerism and fame and things like that.
Yeah, I think the things that stood all 3 of our drafts was this one shot of meat being sliced with a knife, kind of just that entire imagery and the graphic nature and the sound of that kind of informed all 3 of our drafts, which is pretty fun. It was pretty great to work with. And then we really wanted a shot of a slow pan of a body under a table, and just on top of the table is niceties and super simple
luxury
life, and then at the bottom of it is this really disgusting truth. So those 2 shots kind of stood in our minds when we were developing these pieces.
Yeah.
So that's sort of getting into what I wanted to ask about next. But what film techniques that we've learned, or anything that we've learned from this class the whole semester, have you guys purposely worked on integrating into the film, and how have you done it?
We're working a lot with diegetic sound.
Mhm.
So we've got, a scene where Jonathan actually sets the music that's going to be playing, and
What is it? I actually don't know what that means. Sets the music.
like on the record player, he'll turn the music on. Yeah.
Got it.
So he turns the music on, and then it's what they're hearing, and it's also what the audience is hearing. As they're getting ready. The diegetic sound comes from the world of the actors.
Yeah.
And so we're working with that, and we're working with some of the fade ins and fade outs of the switching between Jonathan getting ready and then Cameron getting ready, and then those dynamics as well.
Yeah, and then we're also, this one has a lot of dialogue, which our first couple of drafts didn't have, and it was something kind of scary to like incorporate. But I've written dialogue before for plays, and it serves a different purpose in film. So it was really difficult to like have to switch that. But it was a really interesting concept. Like, it's funny because it's like I can see a lot of my playwriting style in like some of the pieces in there, and I kind of worked it to my strength in the film, because I gave them monologues to say, and they were like reciting their lines like they are speaking. So that was like an interesting like marriage of like what I'm comfortable with and something that's completely out of my wheelhouse. But yeah, I think dialogue is something that we saw a lot of people weren't working with, so we thought it'd be interesting to like challenge ourselves to like, how does good dialogue work on film? So without it being like pretentious or like masturbatory and just like, I want to hear myself speak.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you guys sort of touched on this with trying to figure out exactly what you wanted to do, and I guess figuring out like how to exactly use dialogue. But have you guys had any other issues that you guys have really had to work through, besides the ones that you sort of already mentioned?
No, not really. I think that, like I said, we've gelled pretty well as a group, so like working with each other is not hard at all. I think, like Jonathan mentioned, we did kind of shoot ourselves in the foot with a couple of things, and one of the things that we really had to get over in the beginning initially was, that was redundant, but just the group that we kind of came into it like, oh, this is going to be a great film group, and then after sitting down with Dr. Hammer and hearing him say that, he had really high expectations for us because of, the people in our group, that was kind of hard for me to hear personally, I guess. So I just thought, we're doing a film, we're cool with each other, so we're just going to do it together, but, just knowing that he sees that much potential in us, that he expects that much out of us, was a little intimidating, but I feel like, we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think a hard part of it was just getting out of our own way. Like, Dr. Hammer kept saying, like, you don't have to make an Oscar award-winning film.
Yeah.
Like, it's a simple story, and I think that kind of was the impetus for us to just do it, because it starts with a simple story, and we wanted to put like everything in there. We wanted to make it like really heavy acting moments and like these really challenging things and really cool shots and everything, but that comes to nothing if you don't have a film to show. So it's just kind of like letting ourselves be students and use this as a learning process, and really trust that we've learned enough throughout the semester to like execute a good film, and also stop seeing it as a competition, because there's like, I like see other people like working on the computer, and I was like, oh, that's a beautiful shot, and we don't have anything down, and we're just like, damn, like what are we gonna do? But like really seeing it as like a team effort, like the entire class is working together, and using our strengths and not letting our ego get in the way, and like really trusting and relying on each other to work through this process.
That's funny. You're gonna love what some of the other groups are about to say. I won't spoil it for you, but it's gonna make you laugh. One of my last questions. So when we watch this film all together, what are you guys hoping to accomplish? When people see your film, what do you want them to think, feel, etc.?
I want them to hate themselves because they're so bad.
Yeah, I want people to see this film and then really take it, like before anyone says anything, I really want to take like a very introspective moment and just make people evaluate the way that they go through life and the way that they interact with others on this campus or in the world or wherever they are, because a lot of the commentary that we're going to be making in this film can happen to you on any day, walking up and down Franklin Street. When you're walking past someone, how do you react with that person, or how do you react with someone on campus who, visibly, that you're just making a snap judgment, might not be in the same class level as you, or something like that, to that effect.
Yeah, and it's more like, this is a pretty fantastical film. Like, it's like pretty high stakes and like really strong characters, but more like how we use each other, and like not like commenting that as a negative thing, because we all interact and we all use each other for a relationship and for like support and all that stuff, but what we use each other for and how we use them, I think is really important for us to analyze. Just being college students is a place of privilege, and like how we use other people with less privilege to either like get ourselves up in the world, or even just to like get by. I think it's really important for us to be very mindful of our place in that system.
And our motivations with how we work with people. Like, are you working with someone for the fame or whatever? Or are you working with someone because you genuinely care about that person, or things like that?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see it. Before we go, is there anything that you want to say to the class that we haven't covered so far, or to Dr. Hammer, or advice for future groups? Anything you want to say?
Have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just like the first date's pretty intimidating. Just like, especially when there's people who've already taken the class, are like all chill and trying to be cool, and you're sitting there just like, ugh, this is an English class. Like, how cool can this be? This is like, it fulfills 3 gen eds.
Does it really?
But that's for me. I was happy. But I think just like this is a really fun class, and that you learn a lot if you let yourself learn a lot, and you also will not learn anything if you don't let yourself learn.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just took this class because I was like, oh, English 143, it's open. But, I've learned so much in this class just about film and about myself and how I work with other people and my ability to make friends or lack thereof. So, so yeah, like what Jonathan said, just have fun. It's not a competition,
Except it is.
Except it is.
All right, thank you guys.
Yeah,
I really
you.
appreciate you guys doing this.